Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon. Take a quick look at what happened today. Powell's talking tomorrow morning, so as you mentioned, we won't be on until Wednesday, but we'll kind of see what played out and how price is moving. Still just really consolidating around that 4-hour fair value gap, right? We explained we've really been there since we entered it on the 20th of June. So it's been over a week now, just back and forth. We ended up getting into the highest premium, this 4-hour premium here. But in reality, just stuck in this 4-hour fair value gap. All right, so we're kind of in this current dealing range from low to high. We continue to kind of navigate and gravitate towards the 4-hour consequent encroachment. And we'll kind of see how that played out today. So we're going to the 5-minute quickly just to show, right, 5-minute sense, we did have this bearish fair value gap. That's kind of what we were looking at this morning. So in here, we have a short-term high being cleared. Notice we're actually holding that new week opening gap as well. Short-term high cleared, we then displace through a low, leaving 1-2 fair value gaps. We get a retracement into the new week opening gap, which is also a new day opening gap. And then we displace again through a low, leaving another fair value gap. And at that point, that fair value gap gets traded into. We don't ever get into the consequent encroachment. All right, we come back and visit that later. But for this short, we just kind of hold that institutional order flow entry drill, and then we deliver into the sell side. We'll actually see, however, once we do create the inversion, so notice how we close above it here, that actually ends up holding us the remainder of the day, kind of as we would expect, and then we run out buy side once again. So overall, just really continuing to consolidate, right? Attacking sell side, then coming back up to attack buy side. So just oscillating back and forth. Early on, we had mentioned we try to go long off of this bullish fair value gap here. So we waited till 10 o'clock. Right at 10 o'clock, we get that displacement into that new week opening gap. And we had a bullish fair value gap that actually ends up inverting on us. So we close underneath the consequent encroachment first with this candle. And notice how we actually leave a bearish volume imbalance once we do that. That was kind of the market tipping its hand that bearishness was going to resume, especially because, as we mentioned, right, this is a 5-minute fair value gap, but that's also the new week opening gap. So we're holding that premium pretty aggressively. We invert this 1-minute fair value gap, and then we actually hold the bearish volume imbalance. So we hold that volume imbalance. We then get that huge dramatic sell-off to attack previous day low. And then here is that 5-minute once again as well. Boom. So as we mentioned, we ended up getting short off of this 5-minute here. Waited for the confirmation because we wanted to see the consequent encroachment be hit. But instead, we actually created a failure swing here. And at the same time, right, NQ was actually able to clear these highs while ES made equal highs. And that's really why we trusted that it was okay for us to go short, especially once we close below here. Right, so once again, we're just creating that inversion setup, same way we created it up here. Right, so the market's fractal, we're creating the same things over and over, it's just a matter of being able to spot them. So as we trade up into this 5-minute, which is also now a 1-minute, right, overlapping PD arrays, we can wait for confirmation. And that would come in the form of really inverting the last discount. So this bullish fair value gap is the last discount created as we trade into this fair value gap. So once we close below it here with this candle, then we could wait for the retracement entry on that. Right, that's what we got short. Some of you got short there as well, so nice to see. And then eventually we run into the sell side. We were able to catch that swing low nicely. Once we clear that low, we then create a nice breaker formation. YouTube setup once again. So now we have a bullish break in structure. Short-term lows being cleared, and we leave behind a bullish fair value gap that's aligned with previous day low. So we did go in here on that previous day low. Stop was too tight, so we actually got stabbed out pretty quickly here on this down close candle. We still trust this, however, especially once we saw us get back above it. So when we did this, we actually went back in on that new day opening, or not new day opening gap, excuse me, on that previous day low. Stop below, basically where we got taken out. So still trusting this setup to hold us, right? On this one, stop was just too tight. That's our fault. We could have had it under the breaker. We just try to get a little too cute with it. But we understand that we're still really correct in our thinking. So there's no hesitation to go back in. And at this point, we get in simply targeting the equal highs and that 5-minute consequent encroachment that we never actually got into. So nice little long setup here, right? As we mentioned, breaker block. But aside from that, really previous day low, and that fair value gap being created. If I show you a 2-minute as well, we like to use that. Right, nice 2-minute fair value gap left behind. So overall, just a nice setup. Really bread and butter. From there we get long, we then accelerate, we get above this high, leaving now another little 1 minute fair value gap. We retrace into this 1 minute fair value gap. We then displace once again. So at this time, we're just looking for the discounts to hold us, right? Newest 1 minute fair value gap. We then trade back into that. Notice how once we hit consequent encroachment and move away, we try to get back into it, but we still hold. We'll move that for now. From here we hold, and then finally we get that release into the equal highs, and then ultimately where we got out was just consequent encroachment here. So we did get up and through that fair value gap, and we actually got into the new week opening gap again. And as we spoke about, notice how once we get above this 5 minute, it actually becomes our area of support. So it's really key to notice that, right? As we break above consequent encroachment for the first time, look how there's a 1 minute fair value gap there. As we often say, that's not random. We would look for price to find support there if we were going to trade into it, especially when we're creating this type of price action, right? So we had left highs here, too clean in my opinion, right? Straight edge, and we'd actually failed to run this. So now we have relative equal highs with a new week opening gap above us. Price is now consolidating. We often say in bullish markets, if we're going to consolidate, we can expect lows to be ran and then price to reverse. Lo and behold, we make one low, we clear that low, still continue the consolidation. And then it's only after clearing the second low and returning into the 1 minute fair value gap, then we get that nice release. From there, we clear out those relative equal highs. Notice how it was a wick first, right? Really beautiful closure there. Precise, perfect delivery. Falls short of new week opening gap and midnight level. So we get a retracement. Where do we retrace? Well, into the 1 minute fair value gap. That's perfectly aligned with the low of the new week opening gap. So once again, just nice to see these algorithmic signatures. We hold there. We run into and clear out that buy side while hitting the new week opening gap. Once we do that, right, we would expect now sell side to be targeted. As we mentioned, just consolidating in here. So after clearing previous day low, we would look for that buy side to be targeted that we had left behind in the morning. And once that happens, then we can go back to targeting that sell side here. So ultimately, after hitting new week opening gap, we get a retracement just deeper into this 1 minute, right? We actually get below the 5 minute, but if we show you on a 5 minute chart, we never close below that, right? So that's really key to note that even though the 1 minute looks like it's getting lower, that's why it's important to understand where we are in higher time frames, because this is still bullish, right? We don't want to get thrown off with the idea that this 1 minute is aggressively going lower. So once we see this and we understand the 5 minute, however, is only wicking, we would look for this bearish fair value gap here to get inverted. It ends up getting inverted, which was nice. And that's actually where we took our second trade of the day to close out the day. So as we get up and above, right, this bearish fair value gap, which is also getting back above the 5 minute fair value gap, we're doing it with a 1 minute discount. So an obvious long setup, right, especially because now we have cleared all the sell side in here and we still have really buy side to target here and here, right? Same with that new week opening gap. So from here, pretty obvious, right? Clean setup, once again, bread and butter. As price got above the 5 minute, we simply use that inversion here. So inversion entry, stop goes underneath the 5 minute fair value gap here. And this target was simply targeting that swing high that was inside of the new week opening gap. Boom. So we didn't hold for this external range, that's fine, just low hanging fruit. But we got a nice release into that, really coming at right 350 into the close. We really like power hour. We often say, 350 can really give us a volatility injection. And right at 350, boom, we displace right through the high and right into the buy side. So getting in before that displacement, right? We want to get in when we're consolidating because usually the consolidation will lead to the explosive move. So we get in nicely, right? As we said, we had the 1 minute, but we were really using just this inversion. So this inversion here became our entry, trade into the consequent encroachment, move away, and then notice how the bodies respect that level beautifully. As we mentioned, from there, we get that nice quick release heading into the close to clear out the buy side. Once we clear out the buy side, we really just consolidate around the new week opening gap. So overall, nice day. All right, we took some small losses early on, but we were able to make up for that and more with the nice short setup into sell side here, into previous day low, and then flipping that and taking the longs from right previous day low up into the 5 minute, and then here during power hour, waiting for the clearing of that sell side, followed by right the creation of this inversion, leaving behind another discount for us to now take long into buy side liquidity. So overall, nice day. Like a few clean entries that presented themselves, even in consolidation. As we've continued to say, if we know what we're looking for, we can still be pretty precise, and it shows here. So yeah, that was really all we had today. Keeping it simple, right? In the grand scheme of things, once again, just consolidating. So if I was to go to a higher time frame, remove everything, still pretty small range, right? A lot of back and forth, a lot of wicks, a lot of retesting the same areas. So we just have to trade within the range, and that's why we've been relying really on the lower time frame so much. But until we can either break out, right, and really start trending, we just have to work with what we're given. So as we mentioned, Powell's speaking tomorrow morning. We don't really like to be involved when he's speaking just because the market could tend to be wonky. And especially because we already have been consolidating so much, we're just going to let the morning play out without us. So no stream or anything tomorrow. We'll come back on Wednesday, and then Thursday, of course, is the 4th. So a little bit of a wonky week overall, but we'll try to get another stream in on Wednesday. Yeah, until then, hope you guys have a good night. Hope you guys found this helpful, and we will talk Wednesday morning. Take care.